GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
And welcome everybody to our weekly wrap-up. We've got our puppy co-host joining us again this evening. I guess it's this morning for those that are listening live. Or if you're listening as a podcast, welcome. So we go live every week to wrap up the week. And we've been, let's see, do this. There we go. We've been off for a couple of weeks here with the schedules. And trying to figure out how to get these screens. Am I not going to be able to figure this out? Come on. So is that the problem? There we go. There we go. So learning the new software and just getting the screen figured out here. So thanks everybody for joining us. If you're listening to this as a podcast, welcome. If you're listening to this live, join in, be part of the show. If you're listening to this podcast, you can be part of the show just through time travel. But leave us a comment or go to wherever we're live and write comments in, and that's how you use the interactive nature of this internet. All right, so each week we take a look back at what was focused on Second Amendment this week, and we write that down. We put it on a couple of different places, including our Patreon blog. Thanks to our Patreons, keep everything going. The capitalists who keep everything going. We put it in a newsletter every once in a while. This is the Substack that we're looking at right now, actually. You can join that. It's a blog, it's a subscription blog. It's free, or you can subscribe to it if you want. Then we've got Instagrams, which I don't even know. If you're watching live, you're listening, you want to leave a comment. Do you even use Instagram anymore? What's up with that? I guess we still kind of do, but less and less. Just say that, less and less. Then we've got the podcast itself, and the podcast goes out to all the different podcast platforms out there. So we always ask people listening as a podcast to do us a favor next time you're in, fiddle in with whatever service you might be on, if that's iTunes or if that's Apple Podcasts now, I guess, if it's iHeartRadio or Spotify or whatever it might be. Give us feedbacks. Give us some thumbs up or a heart or whatever it happens to be. Leave us a comment. Those are the things that really help the podcast out a lot, and it applies to all the different podcasts that you value. So every once in a while, when you're in those platforms, remember that really helps us out as podcasters. Anyway, so we take this information that's about the Second Amendment, we wrap it up each week, and we go live like this to say everything about what happened. And on the screen, if you're watching this live, you're seeing the Substack that lets me format it the best way. And then we wrap all this up and turn it into that podcast. And the idea is to get this stuff out on the internet each week to focus on the stuff that's important, the people and the projects that are making things happen. And then take like a bite out of that each week so it doesn't become a monthly thing and it doesn't become something that we forget about because, it wasn't written down. It wasn't written into the archives. So that's what we're attempting to do here. We appreciate the people that join us or that support us in these projects. So if, like I say, if you're joining us live, right now we're doing this in the morning because it's an odd week. Normally we'd be doing this in the evening, and we would thank the people that are up in the middle of the night. Some of those people might still be just going to bed right now, but others are probably just waking up. So feel free to join in and be part of the show. Otherwise, let's just get into it. So, we don't have a scroll going. I need to figure out how to get the scroll going on the screen. Oh, here it says it right here. I just figured out where it is. I got to figure that out for next show. But all super chats give the puppy co-host a biscuit. So a little extra thing. A lot of channels, when you super chat, nothing happens. On this channel, you're feeding a puppy co-host. So that's a lot of fun aspect of the show. And it raises money for more stuff to happen. All right, so let's get into it. This 2A News of the Week is how we start this off. Then we're going to get into the stuff that happened mostly on YouTube. Every once in a while we look at something else, but mostly on YouTube. The stuff that was focused on the 2A. Then we talk about the stuff that's focused on guns differently. It's different than 2A really. And then we'll talk about some radio shows that happen each week. We'll talk about the calendars. I'm assuming we'll have time because this isn't the longest show we've ever put together. We'll take a look at some of the military interview shows that are out there that are very valuable, worth your time. And then all the stuff that we got done last week because it was, what do they call that? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Small Business Saturday, and all the rest. All right, so let's dig in. So a lot of stuff happening in the news, probably because nothing had been happening for a few weeks there. Everybody took some time off, and everything kind of is getting rolling here again a little bit before the end of the year. And the switch in administrations and all the other stuff that happens, at this time of year for a country like ours, with the holidays and the change in year, the year turnover. And then for us in our community, we got SHOT Show coming up, so lots of different stuff happening. At the end of the year, you'll also start to see the totals and tallies and results of whatever, for all the record keeping that gets done. All the tallies and totals start to come out. All right, so getting into that aspect of it, I guess right from the beginning, this information that we get, this 2A News of the Week, comes mostly from the NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and their job is to be an industry liaison between the industry, the firearms industry, the hunting industry to some extent, and then government. And I guess also the marketing out to just what we call the people that live in the country. So NSSF will put out this information, I think, monthly. So it just happens to be the rollover of the month here. So they're saying that in November, 613,000 background checks were conducted by NICS. And that's significant because it's Black Friday week. And they compare that then to the year ago, in which case we're down 5.1%. We tend to pat each other on the back all the time and get real excited whenever it's up any number of percentages. Of course, well, I don't watch every news thing outlet that's out there, but I didn't see anyone focused on this, mentioning it, remarking on it. I should probably add X to this list because I probably pull more stuff in off of X than off of YouTube, since I don't really watch anything on YouTube news related. And Instagram really doesn't do a good job of disseminating information. So X is the only thing that really I see news related stuff on. But even on X, I didn't see anything about the NICS numbers. Again, is that because it went down, or just nobody cares about NICS numbers unless there's some reason to be cheering an increase? But even when I always complain that the NICS system is also counting things like states where they have required background checks on all purchases, then you've got somebody like a grandma gives her granddaughter a shotgun, that's going to come up as a NICS check because the state requires it, when in reality nothing really happened there except that a gun was transferred between family. So I believe that you're going to see an increase in NICS checks when just because there's states that have those required background checks. But there's another thing, CCW classes, they'll often require a NICS check. And well, they will require a NICS check, I think. I don't think there's any that don't. And there's some other things, including some employment. So that'll take us into the next thing. So anyway, that was the first thing, that we had 613 background checks and 613,000 background checks in November, or I should say Click show stream. Oh, did it just cut out, or did it? Was there no sound at all the whole time? Dang it! I gotta do this whole thing over again. Stupid. I'll probably just do the whole show over again, I guess. Okay, so there was sound before, right? Following buying shotgun and Nick's checks. Okay, right on. Thanks. So, anyway, so you can't run a Nick's check on somebody for no reason, and I think it glitched. Okay, thanks for the feedback, DJ. It glitches out here. I can show you on the screen. It'll glitch out, and I'm not used to looking over here at these different rectangles because it says stuff on the rectangles, and I'm not used to looking over there. I got to pay more attention to that, I guess. Anyway, I think it just like hiccuped, and then it kicked me out of the window, and I didn't realize. So I appreciate that. Anyway, I was just saying that since there's no way to use a NICS check as a free background check or something, the stupid Safer Communities Act that was Republican-backed gun control that they gave to Biden, that was one of the things they put in there that they say is good is stupid, and it allows gun shops to run NICS checks on their employees. So what is that even going to do? Number one, pretty much everybody who works in a gun shop already buys guns, so they've already passed like 100 NICS checks if they needed to anyway, and it's stupid. Like the person, it's just a stupid thing. The NICS check doesn't make you a good person, and reinforcing the idea that a government can tell you if you're a good person or will be a good person or have been a good person is all bullshit. And anybody who wants a government that's big enough or intrusive enough or strong enough or whatever enough to be able to offer that information about individuals is seriously warped, and they're not thinking about the negative aspects of that huge of a government. So this is a dumb thing that should have never even been brought up, and if it was brought up, it should have been used as an informational and educational piece for awareness, and then, of course, frozen in its tracks. But instead, the stupid Republicans and the stupid Democrats voted for this stupid thing. And now the NSSF is super happy that they get to say that the ability for gun shops to run NICS checks on their crew or their employees is finally available. So they passed this thing 3 freaking years ago, and they just now have it up and running. That's your efficient government. That's the government you're going to hope that or assume that they're going to give you information about your employees. How about you just have a relationship with your employees? All right, well, that's a little bit editorial, but whatever. The next thing is the Hunter Biden pardon. I'll let you stew in your own juices or listen to whoever you want to listen to about that crap, but you know, I see. Now I'm not even on the screen again, and now we got this. Now is it working? I see. Now I'm not even on the screen again. Okay. Well, yep. So this is definitely, what's that called? Censorship. It's censorship on multiple levels. One, it's because I'm right. I'm so right that they have to shut it down. Now, who's they? You might go, who's the ones that shut me down? Well, it's the government, of course. But it's also YouTube. They're scared of me because I'm so real. And then also it's the other YouTube channels. They're scared. So they're shutting me down. And it's also the anti-gunners. They're shutting me down. So I've got literally armies and armies and armies and armies and armies. People trying to shut this show down. So if you are listening to it, are able to listen to it, it's in spite of the armies. And how did this get flipped over? In spite of the armies, the droves of folks trying to shut this channel down. Well, this show down specifically. They can't shut the channel down. They know that. But they think they can shut this show down. And they do it by being mean to this puppy. That's the worst part. Is that they're mean to this puppy. Look how upset he is when we lose connection. So it's horrible. Well, we should feel bad for the puppy. All right, well, so I don't know where it cut out, but I was basically saying that this is redundant and it's just a scam to get everybody all upset about something and to get people upset about something and to get people to react to that being upset. But it's happened. Then we got 75 gun-related measures were introduced during the first 3 days of the pre-filing period for the 2025 regular session of Texas legislature. You thought I was going to say Colorado. Nope. Texas only does their legislature every other year. So they only have to deal with this stuff every other year, unlike Massachusetts, whose legislature is in session every 72 hours. Yeah, every 72 hours, Massachusetts legislatures are getting paid to get together and figure out ways to screw with that state. Texas, they only get together once every other year. Think there's a difference between states? So 75 gun-related measures. So it's mostly both. I don't remember what the article said, if they were mostly pro or mostly anti, but it's definitely both. And because everybody wants to get a slice out of that pile, that was just in the first 3 days, right? They were all ready to go. Let's see. You know what else I don't like is, did you just delete a bunch of your stuff? Because it's like, I'm sitting here looking at stuff and then all of a sudden it's not here no more. So I don't know if it's deleting or if it's censorshiping you. You're being censorshiped. Anyway, so then the next thing is NSSF filed an amicus brief to the Supreme Court of the state of Washington. So the state of Washington, NSSF is over there filing an amicus brief with this particular case to challenge the state's ban on standard capacity magazines. So you might go, well, some people are going to go, it's the NRA. Like somehow the NRA is supposed to be the Superman to jump in and be the hero for everything. Everybody else doesn't have that delusion. So they're going to say, well, what's the most popular gun owners' rights organization in the country at the national level? How come they're not in Washington state? And then they might go, well, what organizations are in Washington state? So is Washington in the state it's in? Oh, okay, thanks, appreciate that. Is that just the situation, or is it something that happens because these organizations don't want to step on each other's toes? I don't know, because they can't handle I don't know what's going on. You would think that the states where our national gun owners' rights organizations are housed would be bastions of freedom. Well, but whatever. So Washington state getting helped by NSSF? Question mark? Like, why are they even doing this? This isn't their job. Whatever. Then we get 7th Circuit to rules to keep Illinois's gun ban in place during appeal. So Illinois created an assault weapons ban. That, of course, was challenged, and multiple times now. The idea is to, if it's unconstitutional law that are appealing, then you can't enforce the unconstitutional law while it's being appealed. But then the Seventh Circuit Court said, I guess we will just assume that it's constitutional and apply it until it's deemed unconstitutional. At least that's how I'm summarizing it. So if there was more stuff that happened, let me know. Like I say, I get most of my news from the NSSF newsletter that comes out on Fridays. You can check it out. It's called the why did I bother saying that one? I don't remember what it's called. It's called the I can't remember right now. But they have a couple of different newsletters, and it is the I'm drawing a blank completely now that I'm trying to think of it. I've mentioned it a million times, but you can check it out, and I summarize it a lot. It's a long newsletter email each week. They put a lot of effort into it. It's the industry government relations newsletter, I think. So like I say, they put out quite a few. There's probably one for hunters. There's probably one for gun shops specifically. I go with that, the national one, or the that one. All right, now we're going to get into the Second Amendment stuff that happened this week. And if I'm missing anything here, please let me know, because I have not been able to pay attention with all the Black Friday stuff and Cyber Monday stuff happening, since that's what's buttering the bread right now. That's where the attention was for the last couple of weeks, while we've been off for a couple of weeks. There are people that are watching week to week. And, I missed a bunch of 2A stuff, including the Suicide Prevention Saturday episode that's normally at the front of the list here. I think the way I was putting the show together here, I didn't go back far enough and just missed it. But I think I was there. I think Brooke did a show on Saturday, if I remember right. I don't think she's missed a week. That's me muting, so I could cough a bunch of times. So I did miss putting that in there. So Brooke, from a Great Start Shooting School in, I wanted to say Massachusetts, but I believe she's in Connecticut. Right? I haven't thought about that in a while. But anyway, from somewhere back east, Brooke is a shooting instructor and an advocate, and hosts a weekly, consistent effort and awareness for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And like I said, that's usually what leads the way here, since that's the number one issue that we have as gun owners, is that we're constantly kicked in the nuts or punched in the face, whatever you want to think of it as, with the same exact thing every single time. And that's the numbers of people that die with guns. And every single time, for all of time, they've included suicides in that number, because otherwise the number is minuscule. The number is literally 11,000 if you take suicides out. But when they include suicides, they're able to fluff that number up to 40,000 and suggest that it's a crisis or an issue, when in like a not a pandemic, but a epidemic, when in reality 200,000 people die from cigarettes and 100,000 people die from alcohol every year. The 30,000 or 40,000, when you include suicides, is minuscule, but it's the only number they have to hold on to, because again, when you remove the 2/3 or the 30 to 20,000 out of the 30,000, or the more than that, 30,000 out of 40,000, depending on the year, then you get down to the actual deaths. And when you remove the police and things that are necessary out of there, like the lawful uses of guns, then you get suicide sitting there. And because nobody at any level is willing, able, or interested at this point, you have to say willing, interested, or able. Everybody's able. So you can't say that they're not able. They're not interested, though, and they're not willing, for damn sure, because it's been on the table for a long time now. There are national level organizations that are addressing this, and Brooke is the only show that does it on a regular basis, period. And all the national level organizations just dismiss it completely, and it would literally change the environment once we have created awareness of that one facet, that the anti-gunners rest on the deaths of suicides, or the numbers of suicides, I guess, to fluff their numbers, and they stand on those numbers and they disregard them completely, the same as the people on our side do. I always harp on this because it would literally cease the debate. It would change the environment, but again, nobody wants to hear it. So that's one of the things I like to do, is give a lot of credit to Brooke for championing that, being literally the tip of the spear on that effort. Although nobody wants to acknowledge that that's even an issue that we need, that it's such a crucial issue for us. All that being said, she also offers, she's doing it, I think, to offer understanding and insight to people who might ever need to address that with someone or themselves or whatever. So, become more comfortable with the conversations and to be more useful in society. Just understanding that those are issues, being more able and comfortable is of great value. So I usually put Brooke's thing in the front here, but I forgot it this week. So the first thing that's in here this week is another female-led project out of the same area of the country, this time Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And this is the Sisters in Arms project, which is two ladies from Massachusetts and Rhode Island who host a television show and a larger project that's spanned a number of years now. And because Massachusetts is under massive attack from their government and their governor, this is an episode that's part 2 of an interview with the people from the Civil Rights Coalition, I think is what they call the organization that was created to defend against the tyranny that's happening in Massachusetts right now. Right now it's focused on gun owners, but it's really the training ground for, we're going to do whatever we want. We're in session every 72 hours and everyone is our victims. And this is an interesting real-time observation of the challenge to that in a state where it's not an easy fight. I guess that's why they feel so emboldened to take freedom on like this. So it's part 2 of the conversation with what happened with the recent changes in Massachusetts, the potential new law, the petition that was organized and signed to challenge the new law, and then the tyrannical passing of the new law just before the signatures could be turned in, like just before the deadline on the signatures. And then, since all that's happened, just they've been describing it in these 2 episodes, and then talking about in this episode mostly what's happening next, like what's the next steps from all that. One of the ways you can monitor if my microphone is still working is I have my puppy co-host has agreed to make a noise with his nostrils here during the whole show, and that way you can tell if the microphone is working. You're welcome. And you can see, you can wiggle him a bunch, like you can knead all this dough in this burrito. You can squeeze this burrito this many times. He won't wake up. He isn't waked up. His tail is not curly. He's not woke up. Let's see. So then we have Professor Imane talking about the 2024 and about getting his gun out there, or his book about guns, gun culture out there, and then talking about how he's going to take a year off and then he's going to start doing something different. So we've now lost another initiative in the I don't know what to call it, it's not really a race, but in the campaign or whatever we have here, trying to do what we're doing. I don't know how many people have been paying attention over how much time, but we've had quite a few new gun owners hit the scene, and it took some amount of time for people, projects, and organizations to be created that would cater to and be the voice of all these new gun owners. And we've seen them come. Some exist and stay, but many go. And everything's going to go at some point. But how fast and how many of these new initiatives there are and how long they last is part of the reason we're doing this show. Because that stuff happens and nobody pays attention unless you're paying attention. And it's not written down. Nobody, in the long run, nobody really knows how many people have efforted towards, a change or a shift, and how much of that's persisted and how much hasn't. Often the stuff that persists is the people that are able to make money. At least in the past, it was just the people that were able to make money. Then it was the people that were able to entertain and make money and make their projects last for as long as they felt interested in it. And then we have another aspect, there's probably lots of aspects, but another aspect is the people that come along, get interested, have some level of success, and then thirst for more. And they leave this issue behind. And then there's probably people that don't realize this is as important as it is and are transient. They're constantly looking for something new, right? So they're gonna come and go to everything they ever do. They never are gonna stick around to anything. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons we do this, and it's frustrating. I think I've seen this one coming, but I don't know about you, but hopefully we haven't seen the last of him. Hopefully he'll be back and doing more interesting things, evolving the conversation as much as he has already. Then we get to the gun talk section of the show. So if I'm missing anything else Second Amendment related, let me know, because there's only really 3 things, and I only posted 2 of them. So if I'm missing anything, feel free to let me know. Then we get into the gun stuff, and I'm starting off with this. This is an example of the many posts from Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, which is alternative to what people would consider CCW insurance, which isn't necessarily fake. It's just not necessarily what people think it is. So the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network was the first thing that existed, that all the CCW quote-unquote insurances came around to be different than. But the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network is, of course, the longest running, the most legitimate, and the one that is literally just a pool of resources and money for people who might find themselves in a bad place due to use of force and defense situation. And one of the things that they offer is education, not as a fluffer for your $30 a month subscription, since they don't have subscriptions like that, but instead as a way to keep their folks out of harm's way by giving them instruction and information about the bigger picture often. And in this case, it's they did a whole series of these interviews with different people, and this one is talking about online security, or being smart and secure in the way you are online, not necessarily with the equipment, but with your actions. An interesting conversation, depending on your level of technical awareness and stuff, may or may not be for you. But again, this is to offer the idea that the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network did another series of videos. They don't have any interest in doing things the way YouTube would expect you to do it, or the way that the audience would expect it. So they just do stuff and then drop it on the internet, and then you won't hear from them for a long time, and then they'll do stuff and drop it on the internet. So this is one of the times they did stuff and they dropped it on the internet. Probably worth your time compared to some of the other stuff that's out there. It's some of the most legit stuff. It might be, in this case, I'm going to say dated a little bit, or 6th grade level. You might be at a higher level than this if you're already online, but for our grandparents and stuff, it's probably good info. Let's see. Then we get the Gonna Gear Review podcast that happens every Tuesday evening. this week, yeah, I think it did happen on Tuesday, episode 555. I try to catch that one live whenever I can. It's worth checking out. You can listen to it as a podcast, though. They're a way bigger podcast than they are a YouTube event. But I like the interaction. See how DJ's saying stuff out here? Like he gave a link to Brooke's website, a greatstartshootingschool.com. Oh, she's in a class right now. And also a link to the YouTube channel. Thanks for that. So you can grab those on the screen. But DJ's out there being a participant in the thing. You could do that to a lot of these shows, actually. Brooke's show is today, since it's a Saturday. It's later on this afternoon. The Gun and Gear Review podcast is on Tuesday evenings. The, I guess, Gun Club Radio, are they Gun Club Live now? This guy keeps changing the name of his channel. He had a show about buying your first gun. I think it was on Monday. I don't know why he took it down. I don't think he normally does that, but that's what happens when somebody takes their show down. I don't think he did anything to get it taken down. Seems like he takes stuff down. He's a kid. Kids like to make their stuff all fancy or chop it up or something. So he might have taken it down intentionally. But then we get to Foss, who is winging some throwing knives. It's a set of throwing knives. It costs about $22 right now, from Smith & Wesson, and they're okay. They're not my style of throwing knife, but I'd throw them. They're not bad or nothing. Gunswater's out there driving to the gun shop. Right on. Is this a visit to get something specifically, or to browse, Small Business Saturday type of thing, or something else? Then we got Yankee doing his Toys for Tots thing, 2024. I forgot what he raised. Did he raise $8,000 this year? So he said more than he has ever had. And then Obnoxious did a Toys for Tots thing in whatever Carolina he lives in. And Gizzard gave away a knife, and I got that knife sitting right here because I won that knife. That was pretty fun. And it's one that I didn't already have, so that's pretty cool. I'll try to kill a fly if I can grab a towel. Is there a towel around here? What the heck? I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing to shoot that fly with even. Nothing. All right. Getting away scot-free. I haven't had a fly in the house in a while. It must be warm enough to have flies, I guess. But I used to have a electric fly swatter around, but I haven't needed it in so long. Anyway, this fly's driving me nuts, and he's sitting right there. I could totally get him. Anyway, so there was a lot of people doing the Toys for Tots, but unlike the Marines that just do Toys for Tots by itself, these guys are doing toy guns for tots. So, well, my Patreons allowed us to throw $25 at each one. And hopefully, if anybody else felt like doing that, they did too. Colt Smith & Wesson 66 Colt DS. So that probably doesn't mean that. SW66 Colt DS. Well, you're driving, so I'm not sure what that means. But I'm guessing you're going to grab a Colt. In which case, well played. It's a good. You could do worse than that for sure. Let's see. If there's anything else gun related, I probably missed it. There probably was. I didn't have a ton of time last night to work on this show, and then I fell asleep. So I'm not saying I got everything, but I definitely am saying that I didn't spend as much time setting up this show as I have in the past. Getting back into the swing of things here. Looks like Puppy co-host has woke up, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a puppy scratch in here. Let's see. Then we get into the radio shows, and I didn't put in the Gun Owners Radio that happens on Sundays. So tomorrow, as you're listening to this live, will be Gun Owners Radio. They're on in the evenings now for me, but that's San Diego Gun Owners who do a radio show on Sundays. That's worth listening to for sure. And then Toby. Cape Gunworks does, well, on a regular week, he'll do, well, does he do 3 anymore? I'm not sure if he does the radio show on Sundays anymore. I'd have to I don't think he does. So for a while there, he was doing more than he's doing now. He'll change that up as he's got time, I suspect. But he'll do a stream with Get Grace Curley on Tuesdays, and that's a segment of her show called 2A Tuesday. And she's a radio show out of Boston, I think, that has a bunch of people that listen, and they call in and ask gun questions and stuff. And then Toby does his own show for Cape Gunworks, Rapid Fire Radio, on Wednesdays each week, and that's usually an hour of conversation and reading the comments and talking about the news and things. And then, well, because of what's going on in Massachusetts, quite a bit of their legal issues there. And then typically the second hour is an interview with somebody in the industry or the community with Toby. Really good show, definitely worth your listening. There's really only a couple of other radio shows happening on the regular right now, or pretty soon after this show will end. Mike from Arms Room Radio will be going live in Florida, and it's usually right when me and Tony are doing our show. So I don't know why I do my show right on top of him. I probably shouldn't. I do my show because of we do our show because of when Tony gets off of work. But so we can't really do it before and then after would be stupid. It's wasting Tony's evening. So I guess that's why we kind of ended up doing the Saturday show where we do it, but it ends up being right on top of Mike's show. But otherwise, there's just those giant ones that gets funded by the industry that, just slap each other on the back and get all the awards. They're on every day, I think. So I don't bother bragging about them. But there's been times we've had really good eras of Second Amendment focused radio shows. We've had Come and Talk It, Michael Cargill out of Austin, Texas, who owns Central Texas Gunworks and has hosted Come and Talk It radio since the mid 2010s, or maybe even earlier than that. We've all been listening to it on gun channels forever, thanks to Yoder, Texas. But and Michael Cargill is definitely the one who should be in contention in running for head of the ATF, seeing as he took the Cargill bump stock challenge all the way to the Supreme Court and got bump stocks back from Trump's first what's that called? Anyway, Bullets for Bucks is out there. Welcome. I was going to put over there that I was live, but I figured nobody was awake yet. So I'll go over there and probably go into Money Talks when this is over. But anyway, if I'm missing any other radio shows, let me know. It is there, like I said, there's been eras of really good radio shows. Right now we got Mike with Arms Room Radio, which is one of the last syndicated radio shows. It's actually a radio show. Everything else at this point is podcasts. Literally everything else is podcasts. Then we get to Gun Calendars. I haven't been over there in a while, so let's check it out. This is a great time to say thanks to our Patreons, the people, the capitalists that financially support what we got going on. And people might say, what do you got going on you need money for? Well, we've got 3 servers and whole bunches of websites, and the websites distribute information like this right here. It's essentially a calendar. You don't have to buy nothing. There's nothing that's even selling. I mean, we make a lot of calendars, but you can't buy them over here. This is really just an easy way to remember, guncalendars.com, an easy way to remember a place that has the rallies, it has our history, it has our holidays, and the events that are upcoming so that we can make plans and know what's coming. So let's take a look at what's happening. Let's see. Today's December 7th, so it's Pearl Harbor Day. Probably going to be a good day to watch a movie and remember all of that situation, what got us into World War II. Tomorrow, the 8th, is the anniversary of the birth of Eli Whitney. And people that understand gun history, he's a big piece of the, the evolution of guns. Monday, the 9th, is going to be the anniversary of the effective date of the Undetectable Firearms Act. So if you ever thought of a movie like Die Hard interfering with our gun rights,
our right to own guns. Well, that's what the Undetectable Firearms Act is. The idiots watched Die Hard, and the idiot on Die Hard, if you read the book, The Glock America's Gun, it'll describe the whole thing. The guy who made the movie Die Hard hired a guy to tell him about guns and stuff, and then they did that scene with the stupid Glock, and they said it can get through a metal detector and all that, and the guy says that's not true, and the guy said, well, it sounds cool, so we're going to leave it even if it's fake. And then a bunch of stupid politicians saw that movie and went, oh, let's get scared, let's make a law about guns going through metal detectors. And since then, it expires every 10 years, and every 10 years our national level organizations aren't our voice, and they what do they say, compromise and allow this dumbass law to keep getting passed. And now, decades later, 3D printers exist, and we have to deal with this stupid law for 3D printers now at a national level. People will tell me, well, who cares if the federal government has authority that they've never had before? Well, here's a perfect example of the stupid federal government just grabbing authority back in the 80s based on their fear of what they saw in a movie. And here we are in 2024 dealing with them having the authority to tell us what we can do with our 3D printers, potentially. Come on. And the fact that we have national level organizations rubbing their hands together to go to court over that shit because they know that's how many $30 a month subscriptions to get people to want those lawsuits to happen. We could end this shit. But we also have the anniversary of Winchester passing away. He was 90 years old. So Winchester is an interesting dude in the evolution of stuff. Without him, would Browning have been able to do what he did without Winchester buying every patent he made? Would Winchester have, if he would not have bought the Volcanic from Smith & Wesson, would they have even created the revolvers? Pretty interesting little triangle of influence and stuff that happened all at one time. It would have been neat to have been a fly on the wall back in in the days of when all of them were working in the same era. Let's see, this coming week on Thursday, we have the anniversary of the grease gun being adopted back in 1942, one of the 45 ACP submachine guns that are awesome. The National Guard, they have their birthday coming up on the 13th. The 14th is the anniversary of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry being shot with an AK-47 that was given to the cartels by the Obama administration's ATF. With Operation Wide Receiver that turned into Operation Fast and Furious, two ATF operations where they essentially went rogue and decided to watch, to tell FFLs in Arizona to allow guns to be sold to cartels legally, quote unquote, so that they could call them straw purchases, so that they could follow them to Mexico, and of course weren't able to fulfill any of that except for the part where they allowed it to all happen, orchestrated the whole events. And then we have at least that one instance on the 14th back in 2010. So this is not Greece. This is not modern history. That's how we get lost from the internet. See, this time I seen it happen. So I don't know how long I lost video there, but see, we're too real. We're too legit, and they're going to try to shut us down. Second Amendment was ratified back in 1791 on the 15th of December. Some people would call that Second Amendment Day. And back in the olden days of YouTube, that was a thing. Who raised a show of hands? Who remembers back when we all celebrated Second Amendment Day? It was the same day that Uzi was born, back in 1923. And then Bill Wooten. I was just thinking about Bill the other day when I was posting some videos we'll talk about here in a bit. But Bill Wooten, guy here in Tucson, was a really cool dude. He was really into reptiles and really into ammunition. And he had an amazing contribution to both of those interests. I think the last thing we'll talk about, because we could keep going, is the 21st will be the anniversary of Aaron Zellman passing away. And Aaron Zellman is the rabbi who started the JPFO, the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership,
back in 1989, one of literally the only no compromise organization that exists at a national level. A lot of them, well, at least one will claim that. There's massive instances, at least a couple of instances of massive compromise. One that never compromised was JPFO. And that was because there's certain things that happened in World War II that got people rallied that we just don't have that motivation anymore. So with that being said, thanks to our Patreons, people that keep our servers running, that give me the time to go update this stuff. It's the end of the year, so pretty soon we'll have I'll have the chore, but we'll have the new 2025 rally schedules up and the event schedules. Most of the places offer the information at this point. Of course, Gun Rights Policy Conference won't tell us when they're going to do theirs, because I think it's funny to not tell anybody in 2024 when their 2025 event will be. But thanks to the Patreons for letting us keep those projects going, in spite of us not trying to exploit the sky is falling bullshit or making up stuff to keep people upset, or exploiting, pushing our finger into the wound when people really are upset. I really do appreciate being able to keep these projects running, and they're not non-biased, but they're biased for gun owners and not biased for assholes making money. All right, so then we get into the military interview section of the show. This is pretty much going to just be the show at some point, because you can tell I already spend more time watching this stuff than I do gun stuff anymore. But there were some good ones this week. Borderland, I'll continue to say, like, you're not going to like the editing. The show style is kind of cool, but they edit it horribly. Rocco's cool. And in this case, he's talking about the Chinese syndicates laundering money for the cartels from Mexico, who are also getting paid in precursor chemicals for the fentanyl, while the Chinese are taking over the, what would you say, like illegal marijuana stuff in the United States. And that's heinous. Like, they are destroying the fuck out of the country, the backcountry, the critters, and the effects that's having on the illegal marijuana that's out there is totally messed up. So that's an interesting. This is like the third time I've heard this conversation happen, but the first time I've heard the whole part about the Chinese taking over the illicit marijuana in the United States from the cartels who used to do it. And you wonder, I don't know if people are paying attention to who's coming across the border, but we do have tons of people. 37,000 Chinese military-aged males came across this year. 37,000 that the Border Patrol's aware of that got across that weren't grabbed, right? That weren't caught or whatever, that weren't detained. And people will say, well, what are 37,000 military-aged Chinese citizens going to do over here? Well, one of the things they're doing is they're running a bunch of illegal marijuana fields with essentially shit that we've outlawed forever, for a long, long time. And they're just killing the shit out of animals and the countryside and whoever's smoking that illegal marijuana. So it's pretty messed up. And again, it's all about awareness, right? Once people are aware of stuff, then they can do something about it. And luckily, we've got people out here that are focusing on stuff that, well, I'm not sure if it's getting focused on the major news or not. Well, let's see. Then we have Combat Story. This one is the helicopter pilot who went into the CIA, and now he's interviewing people. And this was a pretty good one about a guy who was a SEAL officer. Pretty good insight, and they cover a bunch. I think it's like a 2-hour conversation, a pretty long one for Combat Story. And then we get into another one from Ironclad, but this one's called Change Agents, and this is, what's his face, this SEAL guy talking to this guy. I don't know who he is. Looks like some kind of British investigative reporter or something. But they're talking about the avocado, well, specifically the avocado industry But in reality, the cartels shifted from just illicit drugs a long time ago. And this conversation is, the avocado part is to perk your attention. But the reality is that the cartels, most of the businesses that they want, let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say most of the businesses in Mexico, but I bet you most of the things you might do in Mexico, you're paying the cartels to some extent. They own whatever businesses they want. I think that's the safe thing to say in Mexico at this point, in other countries as well. But it's beyond where you can just send people in to take out the cartels. It's a very ingrained thing at this point. Anyway, these are interesting conversations. There's no easy answers here, but at least we've got some people that are investigative, interviewing people who investigate this stuff. And it's not for hype. Like, most of these people are doing pretty well with their projects, but they're not becoming famous and rich off of just the conversations. They're promoting people who are hopefully getting stuff done. Let me know what you think, though. I'm going to play this because I thought this was awesome. Let me hear I think DJ will probably, if he's still here, he might have something to say. But if you're listening to this and you know what this is all about, let me know what you think about this.
Deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at something a little different.
Different is an understatement.
Yeah, you're not kidding. We're looking at Minuteman University.
Which may sound like a regular school, but it's actually a hub for people passionate about the Second Amendment.
Right, and they offer all kinds of resources and training for gun rights advocates.
It's pretty remarkable how they've built this whole digital platform.
It is. Their website says, "We believe that everyone has a role to play in protecting our constitutional rights."
Yeah, which really highlights their focus on community and getting people involved.
It seems like they're trying to reach everyone from seasoned activists to people who are just starting to learn about gun rights.
Exactly. And they have all sorts of training programs to help people become better advocates.
Like, what kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, they have courses on creating firearms content, which seems pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
And then there's guns in language,
Yeah.
which I'm actually pretty curious about.
Guns in language. That sounds interesting. What is that all about?
It's about the way we talk about guns, how language shapes the debate.
Oh, I see. So it's about like framing and rhetoric and stuff.
Right. It's about giving people the tools to communicate effectively, to make persuasive arguments.
Wow. So it's not just about knowing the facts, it's about knowing how to present them.
Exactly. It's about helping people make their voices heard.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like they're trying to move beyond just defending gun rights.
And more towards like actively shaping the narrative, influencing policy.
Right. It's a proactive approach, not just reactive.
And speaking of resources, they have this huge library of information on all sorts of Second Amendment topics.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, you've got stuff about firearm law, building and buying guns, carrying guns, activism.
Really? They've got it all?
Pretty much. They even have sections on specific states, broader themes like police and international issues, and even one called CCW Fashion Show.
Wait a minute. CCW Fashion Show. Hold on. I'm not familiar. What is CCW?
It stands for Concealed Carry Weapon.
So it's like clothes designed for concealing guns.
Yeah. Apparently they have a whole section dedicated to it.
That's definitely not something you see every day.
It's definitely unique. It shows that they're trying to appeal to a diverse audience.
That's for sure. It looks like they've organized everything pretty well, too.
Yeah, they have different ways to navigate all the information. You can do a quick browse, explore 2A subjects, or look through their archives.
So they have a ton of info, different ways to find it, and even training programs to help people become better advocates.
It really is like a one-stop shop for everything Second Amendment.
Okay, so we have this online university packed with resources and training, all dedicated to empowering gun rights advocates. It makes you wonder what kind of impact they're having on the whole gun debate.
Right. I mean, they're clearly mobilizing people and giving them tools to participate in the conversation.
So it's not just about owning guns anymore. It's about advocating for those rights, becoming part of a movement.
Exactly. It's like they're using this digital platform to create a whole new kind of activism.
Like grassroots activism, but online.
Yeah, exactly. Minuteman University is kind of like a blueprint for how that could work.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So they're providing the training, the resources, and even the platform for people to connect with each other.
And that has the potential to really shift the balance of power in the gun rights debate.
It's definitely a bold strategy and one that's worth taking a closer look at.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack here, both in terms of their approach and the potential implications.
All right, so in the next part, let's delve into some of those potential benefits and drawbacks.
So,
I thought that was pretty cool. And let's get into how that was created a while back in the future. So then we've got some stuff that I've been working on over the week on some of our projects out there. I'm a little co-host. What are you licking the microphone for? When did that become appropriate? I got to whoop a co-host. Hold on. Let's give him a whooping. Hold on. What are you doing? You're messing up the whole show. Now I'm going to start over. Quit licking the microphone. What are you doing? All right. He should be all right now that he's had some attention and a whooping. Got some videos up about some stuff, that's what we've been doing to pay the bills here. But also, since we've been trying to get bills paid over the last week and not paying as much attention, and I noticed nobody else is doing anything. Everybody left y'all hanging. There was literally nothing being done out there except for Never Enough Ammo had like a crazy, 72-hour or longer, I don't even know, 80-hour thing going for 4 days. But I figured, I can do something like a rip-off version of that. So I did a bunch of stints. I did a bunch of 2-hour runs where we just ran through a playlist. I'd sometimes walk away and get stuff done and then just let the videos run. So we did one of them on SHOT Show. Tried to put together a new playlist with just little pieces from, this will be our 20th year going to SHOT Show in 2025. So just putting in pieces of video. We didn't really start doing video until 2009 officially, but 10 or 11 really. And 11 we had our cameras figured out, but 9, 10, and 11 we were kind of figuring out how to do video, so there wasn't much video. But even then we had tons of pictures. That's what we were going to SHOT Show for originally. And I put together some slideshows and some summaries of summaries and then ran all those for a couple hours. I don't know if it's the best summary of SHOT Show or anything. It was kind of done on the fly, but check it out if you want. It'll give you some insight into SHOT Show. Definitely an AK-47 centric version, because that's, for a long time, that's all I paid attention to at SHOT. And then did the same thing with pepper boxes. We have a Derringer pepper box playlist, and I think we ran the whole playlist. So I don't remember if that was 42 videos or something. They're not real long videos, so the whole thing was an hour. We did this. I ran that for AK-47 stuff, but one, it would have been days long because that is a huge playlist. So I just had to end it after a couple of 3 hours, I think. But it kept trying to play videos where back in the old days, you could take apart guns and do stuff. So these videos kept doing stuff that I was afraid I wasn't supposed to be doing on a live show. But I was playing with it anyway, so the channel didn't get shut down. So if you want to go check that stuff out, that's what we did this week, as well as the sales stuff. So go check out Gear Website's channel on YouTube if you want to check out what I'm talking about there. Yeah, isn't that cool? When I tell you that how that got made, it'll be surprising because it's pretty neat. All right, well, thanks for joining us for the live part of this thing. We did it right around an hour. So, like I said, it was a week where I was distracted for sure. But there was some two-way stuff that happened. So I'm glad we were able to get the show out. And thanks for joining us. We'll wrap it up here. And we should be back in a bit if you're listening to this live. We'll be back a little bit later today if Tony's available for the Ask Gun Question show. Brooke will hold on. We should go find out if Brooke has posted her show yet, in which case I could hook it up to this show. But Brooke will be here for Suicide Prevention Saturday, and then Hillbilly does a show. And it is scheduled already. So I can grab this. So I can see the show over here. I can grab it. And then I can go to this show, which is happening, and then edit the show. A lot of people are scared to do this while they're live, but I will edit a show right underneath of us, right while we're in it. And then go to customization over here, then go to redirect. Then you paste that thing that you copied before, and that'll attribute it to Brooke's show. And then I've saved that. And what we've got now is a thing will prompt you when this show's over on YouTube to take you right over to Brooke's show. I'm going to encourage you not just to watch the show later, but share the show. You know, how these things work. The mechanism of the internet is linking things together. The whole reason we exist as an entity with gun websites is because we put websites together for that purpose, so that we can promote and help create more references, I guess, to things that are good, people, projects, and organizations that are getting things done. So you can do that. You're a part of the internet as well. Just by watching the internet, you influence the internet. And when you post things, you're adding emphasis to your actions. So take the most out of what you're doing and offer the most to the people that are doing the best. And one of those is Brooke. Then after all that, Foss will be down for the mouse party, the overnight mouse party thing. So lots of good stuff happens on Saturday, and then Sunday, pretty much all you get is Gun Owners Radio anymore, but it still happens. So we'll bring the puppy back up on the screen. No super chats for puppy, so he didn't get fed anything. He's sad and he's skinny because he didn't get fed nothing. It's not your fault for not super chatting, but you could have super chatted. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back to pick you up later.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.